Hello, everybody. Welcome to Homestead for a Living. We've got a talk that we're very excited about. We've been wanting to do for a while. This is Billy from over at Perma Pastures Farm. Definitely one of my favorite sources for all things homesteading. The way he conveys information is so clear and makes you excited to go out and try things. And so I'll let Billy introduce himself. He'll do a better job than I will.
I'm Billy, formerly known as the Permaculture Pimp Daddy.
Formerly.
Well, I'm still kind of known that in our, we have Perma Pastures Farm on YouTube, and then in our, we're now in the podcast space, and we have the Permaculture Pimp Cast, PIMP, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is My Passion. And so we talk all things. Now we use YouTube as basically a teaching platform, and everything else that we can't talk about or having the ability to go in much greater detail, we do over on the we do it on the Pimpcast. So yeah, we're all about permaculture. I mean, we do a lot of teaching. As of late, we've been going 100 miles an hour on shows and festivals, and basically saying yes to pretty much everything to try to evangelize this magnificent design science that you guys are pretty good practitioners of, called permaculture. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Lately, I've just been, last couple of days, processing pigs and doing it by myself. So it's a heap of work, but rewarding work, especially when I know where all this meat came from.
Mm-hmm. And I've finally come to the conclusion that, like, no matter what I do in life, I'm just going to have to work the whole time anyway. So I might as well be processing pigs, vegetables, doing things that are actually pleasurable activities to do.
Matt, you said it all right there. I mean, it's like I heard a guy in another podcast say the other day that, okay, let's say your lot in life is to be miserable no matter what. Would you rather be miserable punching a clock 9 to 5 for somebody else, or would you rather be miserable deciding what you're going to do in your own day? Well, for me, there's not much of a choice.
Yeah. It's a great way to put it. Well, before we all go off on tangents, as I know I'm prone to do, the topics of this one I think is going to be fun. It's just the idea of, and I think every homesteader can't help but think of this every few months, which is, if I was doing this from scratch with everything I know now, all the mistakes I've made, all of the times I've built something in the wrong place and had to walk around it 1,000 times and do things the least efficient way, or all the times I ran out of finances because of a poor planning decision. After all the mistakes we make and everything, all of us would love to go back and do our first homestead, start from scratch, knowing what we know. And you being kind of somebody who's been in this for longer and kind of advanced, I guess, in the world of permaculture and of homesteading, I feel like if I was just bought my first property and I was going on to it, if I could watch whatever you're about to say in this video, it would be so helpful to avoid all these mistakes in the first place. So it's a broad topic, obviously, and it's so context dependent, because one person might be on a quarter acre, one person is going to be on 100 acres. But in general, starting from with the knowledge you have now, and if you were starting from a homestead from scratch, what would you be doing?
Well, first of all, I love the way in which you went into that. I mean, that's the most polite way of calling me old.
I realized halfway through saying that's what it was coming out sounding like.
Good night, man. I just turned 51 yesterday, man. Now I'm feeling.
Oh, happy birthday!
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I mean, man, the list is legion. For me, right off the bat, man, I've had the benefit of being able to work in very small areas and having to work within that thing, and also in very, very large acreage. So I can hit this in a number of ways, but I will tell you right off the bat, and this is one of the things I try to cover in my Pimpcast, is who you choose to partner with. Mm-hmm. I made the colossal mistake early on partnering with family. Then that all fell apart in the most profound way. And then I teamed up with some friends. It worked out great. At least half of the friends that were involved in it, they didn't mind working. Then the other half, they didn't really have a whole lot of direction, but wanted to call the shots. Third time, we hooked up with family again, this time on large acreage, and worst mistake of my life. And I mean, in a way that I can't even, almost in an irreparable way in terms of how that ended. Ended up on another piece of property. Owned lots of property over the years and lots of different places. Had the benefit of being able to permaculture all over this country. And my son has had the benefit of seeing it even in other countries. I yet haven't had that opportunity, although I look for it. that may be a pipe dream, but if I had to do it all over again, right out of the gates, I would have not have made the colossal mistake. And you guys aren't doing that. I would not have made the colossal mistake of feeling like I needed to team up with other people to make it accelerate faster than it could. I had every understanding that I could do this with my family, with my wife and my son. I knew that we could do it. I knew that we could do it well. I just thought that we could accelerate things if we involved our family. And thinking, as I said before, it was like a giant Snoop Dogg song. Everybody got their cups, but nobody's chipping in. And it was funny because we had teamed up with them in every example where it was agreed that, okay, we're all going to put in the same amount of work. Yeah, good luck on that score. And it was funny. For example, whenever the chickens were coming up, say they were broilers, they were never, ever, ever there to help feed them. Or the layers. It didn't matter. Pigs, you name it. Never there. But when harvest came around, in fact, they would always give you these crazy excuses whenever the weekend would roll around. Like, it was always my one brother. It was always a headache. And I'm like, my goodness, every single weekend, a headache.
Yeah, that's
usually that's a woman's excuse. I
was gonna make the joke, but
yeah. So this happened so often that it became laughable. And sure enough, whenever harvest would come around, and it didn't matter what the harvest was, they're showing up thinking that they deserve, in this particular case at that time, a third, even though they put in like one, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, probably 1/100th of the effort that everybody else did. We didn't balk about it. We gave them a third, even though we knew it was a messed up deal. They had no skin in the game whatsoever. And it was basically a welfare farm. We found out what the people that came over on the Mayflower had to find out. Is that once they lost enough of them, they decided, you know what? You grow your own stuff. I'll grow my own stuff. You grow your own stuff. You grow yours. And, when it's all said and done, when the harvest comes in, all of a sudden, they were dropping like flies. And until they came up with that way of doing things, an agorist sort of, or some would even call it, well, I guess in that particular case, you couldn't exactly call it an anarchist sort of thing. Let's call it agorism. And when they did that, all of a sudden people stopped dying. In fact, the governor, his name escapes me now, but the governor even reported of that colony like, now that we made these changes and everybody's responsible for their own stuff, all of a sudden, not picking on the ladies here, but he was saying all of a sudden the ladies that seemed to be plagued with constant headaches, all of a sudden we're out working. All the guys that seemed to go out hunting for a week and not coming back with anything, all of a sudden came back with something. So that's what I had to find out in the hard way. That, first and foremost, right out of the gate, the number one most colossal problem and mistake in my homesteading, permaculture, preparedness life has been choosing the wrong people. And that was a journey. That was a mistake I made 3 times. 3 times. You guys got it right out of the gates. So I should.
Well, nobody wanted to partner with me, so it was easy.
I really ought to be asking you guys the questions, because what you've done, and that's why I can't wait to interview y'all again on my YouTube channel, is because what you two have done has been really an inspiration in so many different ways. Because I remember when you started kicking off that YouTube channel, and somehow or another, I ended up linking up with you guys. I reached out to you, and I'm like, I listened to what you were saying in these podcasts in your YouTube channel, and I was like, dude, I have got to reach out to this dude, because at that time I didn't know anybody in this space. You're one of the first people I ever reached out to, and to see the journey that you two have made and how you've done it so gracefully and helping out so many others along the way with what you've done, man, it's been a real joy to watch. And regretfully, I just haven't been able to spend as much time with y'all as I'd like to. Sadly, you live in a free state. I live in one that's not so free.
There are no free states.
Bam. Tuesday. Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, I can go on as far as a list of how would I do it differently? Okay, on that score, and there's probably a long list there, Matt and Gabby.
And not necessarily differently, because I'm sure you did some things right too, so that we can emphasize anything that was done that the way you do it from scratch.
I will say, Michelle and I were actually just talking about this today. We've made a lot of horrible mistakes. trusting a lot of people that we thought, by virtue of the fact of us sharing some DNA, we thought maybe that, they'd be on board. But I will say, you're absolutely correct. It has been an astonishing journey as I look back. I mean, nobody ever likes it when you're going through this tough nonsense. But with the benefit of hindsight, it brought us here. It brought me to where I am. It brought me to this. I mean, I live in these mountains, man. I mean, I don't know if I'll just spin out here. Here we are, high atop Billy's Jungle Palace of Love. And you can see that. Well, maybe you can't see that ridge in the background, but I live in what for me is paradise. And for what my family, I mean, you guys have been here. It's a beautiful place. Even in disrepair, I mean, it's still a beautiful place. And it brought me that journey. Had it worked out, the chances are I would have never met y'all. I would have never met some of these incredible relationships with you guys, the opportunity we've had to work together, and the opportunities we'll have to work together in the future. So, yeah, I can say these were colossal mistakes, and they were, but I learned from them the third time. So, yeah, I mean, I guess if I had it to do over again, if you said, hey, I'm starting you off with a place right now, I would make absolutely positively sure that this lifestyle that I'm about to journey on, and there is such a thing as a permaculture divorce. And I am well aware of one going on right now. There is definitely such a thing as a permaculture divorce. So if your spouse isn't on board, you're going to have to think about this in a very clever way. Because I got a letter, an email actually from a lady. I think it was yesterday, might have been today. I've been trying to catch up today on some of those things, and it was a classic example where, hey, I'm on board. I keep showing my husband your videos, thinking that, hey, maybe one of these days he might, see the value in this. Things are degenerating. Things are falling apart in this country. I need him to get on board. But all he wants to talk about is NASCAR and football. And, my heart drops when I hear about that, because this poor lady is thinking, okay, yeah, I see the signs of the times, like the sons of Issachar. She sees the signs of the times and needs and feels the compulsion to make preparations for them. And she's married to some nincompoop that can't have an intelligent conversation about anything. So, yeah, there is such a thing as a permaculture divorce. I mean, you can't bring your spouse into it kicking and scratching. I've known many people that have done that, and it's always fallen apart. In one particular case, I'm aware of a lady who was actually sabotaging the farm, her own farm, to get out of this lifestyle because she was a Texas debutante and was a lifelong adolescent. Could tell you everything you wanted to know about pop culture, but if it didn't come out of the store, she wouldn't eat it. And so she sabotaged that farm.
Wow.
So right out of the gates, I'm sorry for the long-winded response, but right out of the gates, believe me, I got a long list of regrets. But right out of the gates, make very, very careful. Be very, very careful about whom you decide to team up with. It's going to break that project.
And that's everything in life. It's kind of a biblical concept too. Metaphorical, don't hitch I can't remember the animals, but don't hitch an oxen to a sheep or something. Like you can't start any successful endeavor without in something we found in starting businesses with people and starting the nonprofit with other people, that like even the people you're closest to are going to be so radically different and have different values. And so you just have to get as close as you can. And there's still going to be differences. And yeah, I think oftentimes that mistake is made in marriage. It's made at the beginning when you have a partner that like, it goes beyond permaculture and agriculture. It goes beyond the basics, like values. Like if you don't value the safety and health of your family, or if your partner doesn't, how are you going to reconcile, how are you going to build a homestead together? Especially because a homestead is a giant business.
That's right.
It is like building a company. It literally is. It's like you're dealing with tremendous amounts of capital and cash flow and all of that. And it's so hard to do with both of us being so in sync and on board. It's still a massive challenge.
I am shocked, honestly. I still remember you guys' video a while back when you were working on that place. And I mean, I get tons and tons of emails about one spouse is on board, the other isn't. And I remember that day when you guys had that sheetrock and Gabby's in there, moved all that sheetrock. And I remember that video you put out. And I remember thinking, good night, man. That girl is so awesome. I mean, it's both of you how do I say this in a way that's concise and simple? I guess there is no elegant way of putting um, the synergy you two have, and the fact that you're on the same direction, and how you've done some pretty astonishing things in record time. I don't even know that you're aware of that, because I hear from so many people that have been at it much, much longer than you and aren't even halfway as to where you guys are right now. So this is why, regretfully, I don't spend enough time in the company of you guys, because I'm just, like you said, Matt, homesteading. If you intend to eventually get away from your 9 to 5, it better be a job. You better be looking at that exit. I mean, I spent a lot of time emailing back and forth. I spent a little time in the presence of Joel Salatin, and then later on emailing him back and forth. And then if you listen to some of the early interviews that he had done, that is the biggest thing. He was on another permaculture based type podcast, and he was on there, and he was saying, look, and man, I can't believe Joel can be one of those guys, man, seriously, that could tell you to go to hell and make you enjoy the trip. I mean, the way he put it, but I'm gonna say it in my own way, just a derivation of what he said. But it was that, basically, you people in permaculture, which I know both of you two are permaculture designers as well, but he basically came right and said, hey, you guys in permaculture are kind of you're missing the boat. Instead of spending all your time trying to think about the best kale to grow, maybe you ought to be thinking about reading a few business books or a couple of books on how to win friends and influence people. Wink, wink. How to grow a business, partnerships to make. And if you're not doing that, and there's some massive, wonderful virtue in being destitute that everybody thinks is like, it's like in Asheville where I live. All these hipsters that ran these shops, they basically went out of business. Many of them went out of business when they were imposing mask mandates and all these other mandates on their customers, even though there was no mandate to do so. But they wanted to be holier than thou and look at how deep I am over here. Well, how's those deep thoughts working out now that you're unemployed, now that you got no business?
Oh, they haven't changed their mind, I'm sure.
No, that's the most astonishing part of all this. But going back to what Joel said, is that we have a lot of people, and I've been very critical about it. In fact, I'm okay to make them my enemies. I'm not intentionally making them my enemies. But if you're one of those people that think you ought to be homesteading and poor and eating kale all the rest of your life, and if that's your mark of success in your business, then knock yourself out. But that third ethic means to me, and I'm sure it does to you, return of surplus. It doesn't mean somebody gets to come in and redistribute my stuff. So Joel, in this interview, and man, I sure hope I'm getting it right, but I'm sure I am, where he basically said in a nutshell, a lot of you folks need to get on board with making a business, making money. It's okay to make money.
Well, and a family is a business too. Homesteading aside, a household is a business. And if you can't, all those same concepts apply. And also, like, all of the permaculture principles apply wonderfully to starting a business. I'm so glad that, like, as we've started our businesses together, that we've had the permaculture framework, everything, receiving and accepting feedback, and for sure, like, creating solutions out of problems, stacking functions, all of those. That's how, if you could look at any successful businessman and see those same trends through their journey.
Matt, you just said a mouthful right there, because when I remember interviewing Jack Spirko just briefly at the last Self-Reliance Festival, and he made we were talking about the third ethic in permaculture, which seems to be some big debate, and there's not, to me. There's earth care people there and abundance given to the previous two. Well, that's what it means to me, and I'm assuming that that's what it means to you too. Well, to others out there, it's called fair share, meaning that some clown walking up and down my road can just come out here and help himself to a handful of my chickens. No, that's not going to happen. I'm not okay with that. Yeah. But you can't give anything unless you do it from a point of abundance yourself. Unless you're the United States.
Unless you can print imaginary wealth.
Yeah, exactly. Where we can give $1 billion bucks a day overseas to a country that I can't name right now, or they'd probably bust down the feed. We got that money every single day, but I digress. where I'm going with all this is I govern the businesses, and I use that plural, and I'm sure you guys do as well. I govern the businesses, all of us. Michelle does most of the governing, to be honest with you. We govern those businesses in exactly the same way. So just like, okay, I'm looking out here at my food forest. I'm looking at my orchard. Okay, so as a matter of redundancy out there, I have a nitrogen fixer, apple, and the pear. You guys are well aware of how all that works. So, and then when I do it again, the next apple will be a different cultivar. And then the next pear will be a different cultivar. So if any disease were to come in and attack any of those trees, it can't just, first of all, it's got to make it through the barrier of that nitrogen fixer, which harbors all those beneficial bugs, and then make it over to another cultivar completely. So there's a level of redundancy. So it's not like your typical orchard where you have a monocrop of, let's say, Evercrisp apples, which, by the way, are the best apples on the planet in my view. So let's, instead of just an entire orchard of one cultivar, well, what happens is the same thing that happened last year when I went to go down to get some at this orchard in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Well, they had a late freeze come in. And guess what? Every single one of those apples was gone. And so their number one selling apple, they're the best tasting apple on the planet, was gone. And why was it gone? Because there was no redundancy. Well, had they taken that Evercrisp, which comes around at a certain time, and maybe, put a Honeycrisp next to it, and then maybe the next one is a Fuji, maybe the next one is a Gala, maybe the next one is a Granny Smith, guess what? They wouldn't have had a total loss. You would have only lost, let's say if you had 10 different cultivars, you would have had 1/10 of that loss. You would not have lost everything. So that's exactly the same way we govern our businesses, where we sell bone sauce, world's best deer repellent. Is it a panacea? No, but we sell it. Well, we don't just rely on that. We also sell comfrey. And we're probably the number one comfrey dealers in America right now. What else do we sell? Well, we have a value added product. So a comfrey salve, which is made from the comfrey and the beeswax that we produce right here on this property. So we've taken something that will ordinarily not be worth a whole lot, did a little bit of value adding to it. And now all of a sudden, now it takes a little bit of work, and the process getting it off and running takes a little bit more work, but now we opened up another business. So in addition to that, we do permaculture consulting as you do. That's what mostly Williams' department. So we bring in a little bit of money from there. Oh, guess what? I'm also a trained butcher, so I can make money that way. We got a podcast, not yet making money. YouTube, I'm not counting on that money.
But it's another revenue stream.
Yeah, but it is. But it, even though it's not much, but it is revenue. But here's the beauty about it, Matt. Just like I told you, if they'd have switched up that orchard and put a different cultivar every 10 trees, okay, you wouldn't have had a bumper crop of one, but you wouldn't have a loss of everything. It's exactly the same way. But here's the deal. We also govern ourselves in terms of business. And if anybody's going to take anything away from this, I really hope this is it. I know you two understand this, is that we still live a high quality, low consumption life. Meaning that I have everything I could ever, like I said, on my birthday yesterday, they were asking, what do you want? Do you want to go do this? You want to do? I'm like, no, I want to eat this pear. I want to eat this pear I just pulled off this tree. That's what I want for my birthday. I have everything I want. I have a low consumption, high quality life, which, going right back to the business thing, is using that same example of a permaculture orchard as opposed to a regular orchard or even a food forest for that matter. So one devastating loss doesn't sink the whole ship. We have probably 9 different ways, actually more than that. Okay, well, just for even numbers, we'll say 10 different ways to make money, but we live on one. So if we had colossal failures, we would have to have 9 colossal failures to lose everything, to lose it all. That's what it requires to have. We can live on one income, income. Now, what does that mean? We still drive old cars. Yeah. Okay. We don't have a tractor. But what does it do? I mean, I could take all this money. I can go buy a new truck if I wanted to. I could do all this. So what can I do with it? You know what? I can reinvest it in things that matter to me, like rescuing children from child sex trafficking. I say permaculture is my passion, but my bigger passion is sending every last one of those people. I guess I can't say what I'd really like to do, is basically have them come to justice. Well, guess what? Now that I'm from a position of, like Jack Spirko called, now that I'm from a position of abundance, I can give money away to people that need an appliance. I can give money away. And guess what? I'm the one deciding on how that, or my family's deciding on how that's dispersed, not Uncle Sam. And I can talk about that too. So it gives me a point to where if I need anything, first of all, I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Something breaks down. Yeah, it's nice to know I can go get it. But it's also nice to know that if there's an investment opportunity over here, like John Willis up from SOE always says, instead of you worried about what to do with this $100, what to spend it on, how about how to multiply it into 1,000? So that's what we can do there. There's that new platform I was just talking about it, freesteading.com. You take a look at that. You take it freesteading.com and look at what the amplification of what that could do in terms of our businesses. For example, oh man, I know I'm monologuing way too much.
This is all gold.
let me just close off that one point of view before I kind of get on to another one. Bottom line is that we have multiple streams of income. It took a while to get here, and that's fine. That's normal. We can live on one.
Yeah.
And knowing full well that any day they could pull the feed on this interaction we're having right now, knowing any day that, you know what, the money I get from Patreon, we put good content over there, but I know that could go any day too. So if YouTube goes, they'll probably take that one too. So where's the off ramp? What am I thinking about plan B, C, D? Part of the reason why I got the podcast, number one, I love doing it. I can go into greater detail, but at the same time, if they were to pull these other two platforms, I got 3 platforms. I got Patreon, I got YouTube, and I got the podcast. So now with this freesteading.com, I'm thinking, oh, bam, I got another one right there.
And one that's definitely more resilient than the others in terms of
absolutely. And it's run by legit, straight up. I mean, these are our kind of people. I know you're my kind of people, and I'm your kind of people. We know that. We've spent time together. And I'm like, okay, so I know that the time's ticking when Matt, Gabby, and Billy ain't going to be able to have this conversation. I got my money insulated in multiple places. How do I do the very same thing with my voice? How do I do that? How do I? So if I lose the YouTube platform, okay, I got Patreon and probably lose that eventually. Then I got the. I'd like to think people would know where to find me. They can find me at the podcast, but dig this. On this freesteading.com, there are so many different ways to amplify your business over there that you don't even really, once this thing is off and running, and they're working out the bugs in it. Once it's off and running, I won't even need YouTube, and neither will you. I mean, it's a cool tool because honestly, without YouTube, I would have never met you guys. But I know that likely it may go away someday. So I'm thinking of off ramps and off platforms, multiple sources of communication, multiple sources of income, multiple sources of just like you said, to come full circle with this, the same exact principles we use in permaculture in terms of redundancy is exactly how I built my business. So, and if I had it to do it all over again, now, I know that's the theme of this thing. So let me talk about business. I lost a crap load of money in every last one of those things I talked about. I mean, if y'all knew how much money I lost, it would make your head spin. And I walked away. And you know what? In every single case, I walked away, let them have everything.
Be free of
didn't walk away, didn't take anything with me for the most part. And in every single case but one, it has been a colossal failure, even though they kept all of my capital. So point being, yeah, have redundancy in multiple different ways. And if I had it to do over again in financially, I wouldn't change a thing, despite having lost so much money. It would make your head spin. You know the reasons why? Because it taught me the value. It taught me the consequence of conduct. it taught me the consequence of conduct. I guess that's the best way I know how to put it. Because I would not have learned who not to trust. I would not have learned how to do business because we're not given a download of this information like some of the people that come from generational families that come from money. So you and I have to learn this from the ground up. And believe me, it was a hard lesson, but it was thoroughly learned.
And that's another principle, is receiving and accepting feedback. That would be the same as if you kill a plant, by doing something wrong. It's also so freeing when, even if it's something devastating like losing tons of money on a property, it's like, that was college. College cost me a lot of money too.
Yeah.
So that was just a bunch of really good education that was very expensive.
Yeah, but it's I always say that it was a hard lesson, but thoroughly learned. Because now, I had prayed that the good Lord, and you guys were some of the first, I'd prayed that the good Lord would take the bad. When I say take the bad people out of my life, I'm saying the people that were unproductive and have no desire to ever go anywhere. I prayed that the good Lord would remove those people and replace them with high quality people. And my prayers have been answered in droves. And part of it was coming across you guys, because honestly, I felt you two were some of the first that I'd come across. And instantly, the first time you guys came out, I wanted you guys to come out. I mean, I felt a lot. I guess to a certain extent, it was a selfish motive because I felt a lot less alone in the world. And so did Michelle, because honestly, for the longest time, we felt like we were on this journey out in the island, and every blue moon, you might come across somebody. So YouTube was a way to not only evangelize permaculture, but also hoping against hope that we would come across good people. And my goodness, have we met. I would have never believed it because I've heard so many awful stories. That's not been my experience. Every once in a while, you'll get some nut job following you to the bathroom or whatever. But honestly, it has been an astonishing journey of finding the highest quality people on this earth. And it's a joy to know that you two are among them. And because of you guys, I met other people. You guys held the Back to the Land Festival that last time. I had the pleasure of meeting Nicole. Now I got to know John, maintain the relationship with you guys, and this whole constellation of other people that I would not have met had it not been for first meeting you two. And so we cross-pollinate. You guys introduced me to somebody else I didn't know about, and then maybe I do the same with you. Or we even cross-pollinate in terms of our businesses. And this is exactly, if I had it to do over again, I'll tell you another thing I would do. If I was just now starting out of the gates right now, I would start a flipping business.
Me too.
Start a business. I mean, I don't care what it is. Fail, but fail while daring greatly. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Teddy Roosevelt, but he did say that. And I totally agree with him. That my place will never be among those cold and timid souls that know neither victory nor defeat. So I will fail, and I will fail while daring greatly. So get out there, start a business. I don't care if you're I don't care what it is. It's going to teach you the consequence of your conduct.
And it'll teach that. I've learned so much about myself and managing myself from that then plays out in everything from a marriage to keeping your room clean to building business, to all of it. Like, and it's from that failure, especially when you accept feedback and you're open to that stuff, you also then often see that the villain in the story is yourself. And you're like, okay, so it wasn't my external circumstances. I need to specifically change this behavior and this pattern.
Man, you said it all right there, is that at the end of the day, I consider myself responsible for everything my family does and fails to do. So, and that obviously applies to me as well. So looking back at all these mistakes, nobody ever wants to look back at their mistakes and say, man, I was such a blockhead. But my goodness, man, when you get out there and you put foot to butt, I don't care what it is. If I had it to do over again, I would have gone into business right out of the gates, because all the lessons that I'm learning now, and believe me, I'm learning them, I would have learned them. I would be so much further ahead. So even if it's as simple as, I mean, you name it. I don't want to just throw any business out there. Let's just say you're selling milk, and or let's think of a little thing. Okay, let's say you're selling mushrooms out of the closet on your property. It could be that simple. That's a business. That is a business. Let's say you go into the woods and you go get some high-end, highfalutin mushrooms for chefs in town. That's a business. Figure out how to make that business prosper. Start in any way possible, because at the end of the day, with that business, if we don't start working with one another, if we don't find our way out of Walmart, then we're dead. And I'll give you a prime example of what I'm talking about. There's this list, and I'm going to talk about this with Gabby on Sunday. This is part of the theme. I'll give you a prime example. Think of everything you have in your house right now, and I'll think of everything I have in mine. Things in America that people universally use, at least one person in the house drinks coffee, maybe both. Well, everybody in that house also uses soap, unless you're one of the people I used to work with. But generally, those are things everybody. So my first goal was to find someplace. How do I buy this from another homesteader? Okay. I'm going to start with the two most basic things I use every single day. Coffee, which is a pleasure. I don't have to have it. I don't know. I probably need to have it. Otherwise, it's going to be a bad day up in this place. How do I start? Because I've been screaming from the mountaintops that we got to start doing business with one another. Not only open a business, but start doing business with one another. Maybe even give each other maybe a 10%. If we all within, let's say, the YouTube space that we knew each other, and I'm just using YouTube as an example, if we all gave each other a 10% affiliation fee for everything that I sold of yours or you sold of mine, we would have a level of redundancy that would rival anything on this planet. Because let's say all of a sudden I got knocked off of YouTube. Well, I got other platforms. Well, I'm still able to peddle your stuff. Now, I hate to put it that way. I'm still able to sell your high quality goods. So I'm thinking, okay, where do I start here? So I got my coffee, and it's sad because I only made that deal a little while ago. I got my coffee from Nicole, the Hollow Roast coffee. Okay. Michelle orders it. We get it every month. Okay. Now my next thing, and I just did this the other day, all of my soap I get from a lady who literally just started the business, and she's going to be on live with Gabby on Sunday from Two Old Crows Homestead. He just started a soap business, and it's the
He's
best.
in the chat right now, by the way.
I'm sorry?
He's in the chat, right? Two Old Crows Homestead is in the chat.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell y'all, and I told her, honestly, she's going to be on with me. She makes the best soap, and she probably thinks I'm blowing smoke, but I'm not. She sent some saying, hey, what do you think? We tried it. William, she made one scent called Sexy Beast. And William took that one, went straight upstairs and jumped in the shower with it. So Michelle's like, okay, I guess I'll try this one. Every scent she came up with is magnificent.
Awesome.
The design of the packaging is better than anything you're going to find on the shelf. And it's more than affordable. So why on earth would I ever consider buying soap from somebody that hates the bones of me when I got a friend that is quite literally down the road in terms of my reach to her? All I got to do is pay for shipping and pay for the soap. And guess what? I got myself a month's supply of soap. We don't yet know what that is. I mean, now all I need now is to find me another homesteader that's making toilet paper. You want $1 million idea? Find me a homesteader making, well, you better make some high density stuff, man, because that's where William's got teeth in his butt. We
got lamb's ear around here.
Yeah, that works. But the point being is, look, if I had it to do over again, start a freaking business. Make it, if it's like John always says, John Willis, if it's worth doing, then make it important. Do it like it means something. She made this soap. She put her heart and soul into it, had to, because honestly, it's the best soap I've ever used. And I'm going to tell everybody about it. You guys got a product coming up here before long. When you're ready to launch, I know it's going to be a winner. And I will tell everybody about it. But that's the beauty of this platform, that freesteading.com. I know they got a little bugs in it, but this is where Billy doesn't have to be the town crier telling everybody about all the wonderful goods out there. If we have exactly what you and I have talked about, that we needed a platform where all of us could sell our goods, then okay, guess what? Got the coffee knocked off the list. Got the soap knocked off the list. Now, pick another item in your house. Okay, you want another $1 million idea out there, somebody? Go make some toothpaste. Make some homemade toothpaste. And I ain't talking about that stuff, man. It better be more than just sticking baking soda and lemon juice in a cup, because I had some clown try to sell that to me. But literally make some baking or make some toothpaste. Man, I should have kept that myself.
Well, there's lots of also, it's like we think that you have to have like the $1 million idea, but in reality, there is room for 1 billion people to make soap and 1 billion people to make toothpaste. And we've grown up in this culture of get rich quick schemes where we think you have to be really innovative, but I'm learning that what you really have to be is dedicated to a craft and building something good. When I got rid of that get rich quick mentality is when things started to go better for me in life. And as a musician, I've seen that too, where like, a lot of us go into music and we're like, oh, it's so hard, but if I just am really popular and charismatic, I'll get famous, and then it doesn't matter if I'm not a perfect musician. When I lost that mindset, I found myself just doing music for the music and becoming way better of a musician, and then I get hired for better and better gigs. So it's like that concept plays across anything. It's like we don't have to reinvent the wheel with everything. People just need to think about what do they like to do with their time? What resources do they have access to? What need do they see? And then just make a good product that's really good that you care about, because we live in a world of Walmartization where everything is just garbage. We buy things, we get them. We bought a tripod for a camera the other day. It crumbled as we set it up. And it's like, that's good though. That means that the market is wide open for just good products that are made well, made regeneratively, and just that you follow through. Like we're going back to this world where people like myself are way more willing to spend more money on something that, like, if it broke down, I would call the company owner up and they would apologize profusely and send me a new one, because they stand behind their products. So people don't have to think that they don't need to be a genius. They don't need to be I don't want to start naming billionaires because now they've all turned out to be so evil. But they don't need to be this incredibly intelligent person, or we've got this image.
Have even business savvy.
Yeah, it's really just make something really well. Just do really well at something
and tell people
and try things, and then fail. Like I said earlier, go out and fail too. We've done a lot of that, but then you get that one success for every 10 failures.
That's right. That's right. That the fail while daring greatly. I really need to put that on a T-shirt.
I want to tattoo that.
I mean, really, there ought to be. I'm actually, like, in my own thing, I'm thinking about coming out with a T-shirt line, with some of the stuff I say or some of the things I think that other people have said, or things I think are clever. But that's just another thing. But you know what? Everybody's got a T-shirt out there, and that's okay. If you notice in all my videos, I don't even wear my T-shirt. I don't wear Perma Pastures T-shirts. I tell people, send me your freaking T-shirts and I'll wear them, like the one I got on now. It's from And We Know. It's Romans 8:28. It's one of, he basically does a Christian newscast. I will wear your stuff. I don't even wear my own stuff. Abercrombie has never done anything for me. I'm going to wear your stuff. So I'm going to wear Matt and Gabby stuff. I'm going to wear Two Old Crow stuff. I tell people, I had made the clarion call from the mountaintops. Send me your stuff. I don't care if I got to be the Mecca for this. And I, like you said, Matt, I would gladly pay twice. I would pay twice for that soap than what I'm paying for it. I would pay more for the coffee. You know why? Number one, it's fantastic coffee. And number two, it's better. She sources it straight from the farmers. So it's better than fair trade. You know what? That means something to me. That means something to me. Knowing that if there was ever a problem with anything, just like in my business, guess what? I'm the complaint department. You don't go get put on hold like that. And if anything's wrong, anybody that's ever done business with me, now I have had some charlatans wanting some free stuff. But that's unusual. And you lose money on those people, but you find out who they are, and you can usually see right through it when they send. In fact, every time I do a video like this, every time I talk about this, I guarantee I'm gonna have 3 emails. Oh, by the way, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. It's funny that you said it right after I did this interview. You're gonna have those problems, but here, check this out. I'm gonna start marking off the list, and in fact, I'm thinking about doing something of a campaign. Okay, personally, in my household, everything I use, I am going to phase out. From these people that want to murder me and my family. I'm going to phase out from whatever you're selling me, and I'm going to buy it. And I am happy to pay more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's not get too ridiculous, but I'm happy to pay more.
To pay a fair price.
That's right. And I'm going to start with the things that I already use every single day. So, bam, got soap knocked out. Bam, got coffee knocked out. And I'm going to keep knocking them off the list, but I'm not going to buy it until I get it from another homesteader. And yeah, like you said, Matt, if you're going to do it, man, there better be a little bit of quality on there. You better act like you care. Now, in our case, like in some of the things we sell, we're not fancy on the labeling because I'm already selling things that are expensive anyway. So I'm keeping the labeling simple in a lot of these things to keep the price down, even though the cost of bones go up. You notice my bone sauce isn't going up. I'm just the cost because I keep things as inexpensive as I possibly can. But man, I'm telling you what, if I had to do it over again, Matt, I would have started a business. I'm doing fine now, but I would do light years better. I would do light years better if I'd have started earlier. But you know, like they always say, what's the best time to plant a tree? 10 years. When's the next best time? Today, you know? So it's the same thing with the business. So, man, I really hope, just start. If you're wondering what business to do, just pick one item in a household. One item that everybody has to go to the store and get. Do every bit of exhaustive research you can to make a better item, because guess what? There are platforms coming online. Just like I said, at freesteading.com. They're not paying me to say this. I don't get anything for it. I just know that if this platform, and it by every measure, it looks like it's going to turn out to be better than I thought, that will be paradigm changing for all of us in the most massive way, because everything we've talked about having our own space, own platform, do our own business, if we could do it all right there, and even in other platforms if people were so inclined. But right now, that's the best one I know of right now, where we could all sell our goods out there and let the market decide. So like you said, Matt, let's say there's 10 people selling a toothbrush. Bam, make a great toothbrush, okay? If you got a bunch of people or a hairbrush, whatever the case may be, pick household items. See if there's a way to do it on your farm. You got bamboo growing like crazy around there? Maybe you can make some combs out of that. Maybe you got pins also. Maybe you make some nice brushes. People will support you these days, and all the evidence is showing it, that people are sick and tired of dealing with these idiots, and they're willing to deal with the people like us.
Yeah.
So, like you had once said to me, Matt, we're on a roller coaster of a back to the land movement that dwarfs anything that happened back in the 70s. So why aren't we doing business with one another?
Yeah.
If we understand what the problem is, why aren't we doing this?
And we may have no choice but to do business with only each other, so we might as well make those connections now.
Why not? It's a better quality thing in every single way. I'm not going back to drinking Maxwell House. I'm not going back to buying Ivory or Irish Spring. I'm not going back to buying that. I got legit people that care about me, that make a great product. I'm going to buy it from them. And I recommend everybody else does too. The store's open. Go there. Hickory Ridge, I think is what she's calling it. Hickory Ridge soap. I've been using this stuff every single day. In fact, I took a bath twice on Saturday because I wanted to use the other type of soap.
It must just smell great over there right now.
The fact is, I wanted to try this other bar of soap she had out there. But the point being, if you're wondering, if you're anybody out there thinking, where do I start? Pick a basic household item or use. Make a better pancake mix. Make a gluten-free pancake mix. Come up with go get some corn. Have it milled. Make a cornbread mix. Value add, like I talked about. We take that comfrey, which in and of itself, doesn't make a whole lot of money, I guess. It makes some money, but I'm taking the leaves, which we can't grow enough of because we feed it to everything around here. We take all that and value add it to make a comfrey salve that's second to none. We know everything that's in that jar, and we concentrate it in a way that we're not telling everybody about. So we produce a better product at a more than reasonable price, and it's working out. So let's keep doing it. Sorry, Matt, Gabby. I know you guys wanted to take this thing. I know I'm going so far.
I love the direction we've gone on, and actually, that
That's kind
how
of
well
the
does that
whole-
play into like us plugging the festival too? Because the
that
whole
was our
focus
whole
on that
idea with it.
is that like
Yeah.
people need to start businesses, because we've experienced that ourselves, is that homesteading quickly becomes an impossible endeavor if you can't make your living from the home. Because like if I don't go out into that garden every day, then I suffer the consequences. The garden's going to fail. And so I need to be here constantly, and I can't do that if I'm running all over the place and working and coming home exhausted from a day job. Like, not to bash on a day job, we all have to do it to get somewhere, but like we should be moving away. And for some people who don't yet have the land, also starting the business might be the first step to get the funding you need to get that land. So yeah, I'm so glad it went in that direction, because that's what we're talking about for the festival. That's the theme, is homestead for a living. And every presenter is a business person. Like Nicole is going to be there, who's selling the coffee. They're all business. And you mentioned starting mushrooms out of their closet. We have somebody who literally started a mushroom business indoors in a rural area. They're not selling to rich people in the city. They're selling to people who'd never, ever bought a mushroom product in their life. And they just set up a booth at the farmer's market and explain the product. And I think they do some kind of subscription. Like, they're going to tell their business model. They're not just going to talk about how to grow mushrooms. Yeah. So like that, we're so much in accordance with that.
Yeah. And also I think, we've talked a lot tonight about products, but also think about services too. I was able to quit my 9-to-5 this year in March or April it was, and it was because I have an expertise in marketing. And so now I'm helping small businesses. And I also had to learn through, the past few months of running that business full time myself from home. I had to learn that, I don't want like 1 million clients. Because that's going to keep me away from the farm. Instead, I'm going to create a marketing coaching program, invite 15 people into it, and work with them 2 hours a week and make more money doing that than having, twice as many clients.
And create a more elegant solution.
And create a better solution, because it's also allows me to lower the price point on it so that all these people can get this help from an expert without, having to pay what I would pay just a client, or what I would charge a client. And so I think that's just things you have to learn through running a business, and just also making the point that, when we're talking about working from your homestead, yes, there's products that you can create, but also services. You probably, whatever your day job was, you probably have a skill or that you could turn into a service. Or
the things you have to learn on the homestead. That's a large part of it, is like, you're going to have to become expert in things you had no idea you were going to become an expert in. And suddenly it's like for me, I've been going a lot down water catchment with clients, and I keep getting hired to build water catchment systems. 2 years ago, I'd never heard the word water catchment. So yeah, services are a big part of it. And I like that redundancy, like you're talking about too, of like, well, I've got all my products, but let's say, I can't ship products anymore through the post office unless I take whatever crazy medical intervention is next. Okay, what's my fallback? Okay, I can go and I can design homesteads, or I can go and do whatever my service is. So I think it's great to do both. You have your products and you have your services.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Same thing here. I'm a journeyman electrician, and I got that trade under my belt. I can go out there, put on my tools, and, people are beating down my door to do electric work. And honestly, the only electric work I'm interested in doing is honestly helping friends from time to time. But it's nice to be in a position now to where I don't have to do that. But Gabby, I think you hit it right on the money. Services are also, I know I brought up products, but honestly, like our consulting business with permaculture design, that's exactly, William now to a certain extent can do it over the phone. And I mean, to a certain extent, maybe there's some people that do it virtually, but now he's changed up the business model on that, where instead of drawing up entire plans, he's tweaked it a little bit to make it a lot more efficient more efficient for the customer. But it couldn't have happened without without actually going out and doing it.
Yeah.
There's tons of other service parts of this. I mean, honestly, if you were a landscaper right now, a permaculture landscaper, you would make a killing. So, I mean, this idea of having to go off to college, get a degree in worthlessness, get flat broke trying to get this thing, there is absolutely no excuse. If you have just a little bit of stick-to-itness regarding just pick one thing.
Yeah.
Just say, I'm going to commit myself, just like the old Japanese samurais used to do, commit themselves to perfection in just one single solitary thing and make a business out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you make the best chopsticks ever, or you make the best sandals ever, or you make the best robes ever. It may not be the best on the planet, but it's the best you could do.
Mm-hmm.
If you worry about doing that, or like Gabby said, make the best business ever. Anybody that's ever done a class with me, especially as of late, as I think I've gotten better at it, we did like a recent swale class.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a list of things that were promised in there that long. And the price was a certain amount. I don't know what it was. Nicole usually handles that sort of thing. I was pretty much volunteering my time because I want to evangelize. I can, you know what? I can volunteer my time when I don't have to make, I can do things I love. I can do projects I love for free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And going out there and having this demonstration site at SOE is a big deal to me because not many people say, hey, come out here, have your way with it. And let me know how it turns out. So with that, there was this much promised. And when it was all said and done, everybody walked away with, you know, I can't use both hands right now, but I know, and the reason why I'm saying that is every last one of them that showed up, because if we kept the class small intentionally, I know left with much greater value than they ever dreamed of. They came in there and they essentially got a customized de facto design project for their own thing. So we promised this much and gave way more than that. And so even in those cases, that's something you're never going to get. You're never going to get from a college professor, you know? You're not going to get that kind of instruction. You're not going to get that person that stays up. And I'm not just talking about me, because I know you guys are built the same way. They paid for this class and it was supposed to go, let's say it's supposed to be over at 3:00 in the afternoon. Well, guess what? I'm there till 10:00 at night, losing my voice, still working with these people. Because if you cared enough to show up to this class that I'm volunteering my time for, I care enough to answer every single question I can answer if I know the answer. And I like to think that in those things, you know, you're winding up with much more value. So I'm just doing, honestly, the way I also see it in terms of business. Yeah, this might sound crazy to some people, but I really see money as a byproduct of just doing good work.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I don't think we even need to worry about money at a certain point. If you just invest yourself into good work and diligence all day, I think the money it follows inevitably.
Mm-hmm.
I think also too, when I don't, you know, when I first started at this, there weren't a whole lot of people giving me a hand up or a help out, especially any of the big YouTube channels, except for Deep South Homestead. I mean, outside of that, most of them don't want to fool with you unless there's something that they're going to get in return. And I mean, that's been my experience. So there was no elevating yourself there. So as I gain, man, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a dope or a tool, but as we get more and more people on board, I try to talk to more and more people. I remember back when I was starting out and thinking, man, how do I bust through? How do I get somebody to see the awesome things we're doing here? How do I get the attention of anybody that could help me out? And nobody's wanting to help. And I'm like, okay, if I ever get to the point where I get any kind of platform, all these other people that I know are doing awesome things, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to put a spotlight on what they're doing, because the most famous people out there ain't doing what they say they do. You know, I know this personally. A lot of them, I guess I won't go too deep into that, but there are a lot of us that are at this echelon where we are that are still doing fantastic work. And if I have the means to tell everybody, hey, look at what Matt and Gabby's doing over here. Look what these folks are doing over here. They're doing fantastic stuff. Instead of thinking you need to go to this person just because they have a crap load of numbers doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. In many cases, and it's just an indication that many of them are charlatans. There's some good ones out there, but there are also a lot of charlatans as well. So I'm like, okay, nobody is screaming from the mountaintops the need for us to coalesce around ourselves. instead of coalescing around Walmart. Nobody's talking. I mean, we talk about it, but I see nobody out there making the clarion call, screaming, begging everybody to come together and let's build this thing. Let's do it. And you guys have forever and a day. We've had many a conversation, all of us. And I've been doing it every single chance I can on my YouTube channel. And then lo and behold, in the middle of saying all this, I get an email saying, hey, we've come up with this platform. Why don't you take it for a test drive? And I'm like, good night. Good night. This is exactly what I've been hoping for. This is exactly what we need. Now, the marketplace isn't yet hot, up and running. There's still some legal framework to jump according to the people running it. There's still some of that to get done. But when it is done, it's going to be the best thing out there. It's already better to navigate than that Truth Social, which is the biggest joke in the world. I mean, I got on there. It's, you know, it's just not a great platform. This one is going to be the best thing out there, especially for those of us who are selling anything. This is the place. This is the marketplace. This is where we find out. Guess what? Your event on there, the Back to the Land Festival, I don't know who put it on there, but it's on the calendar on that website.
Oh, cool.
So it was on there. And here's the cool thing about it is that where we have all these events that get squashed with one another, like, okay, for example, the Midwest Conference that's going on in Kansas, I was supposed to go back there and do some stuff. Well, guess what? Because we didn't have a way to coordinate dates, it's on exactly the same date as the Self-Reliance Festival. Well, I'm going to the Self-Reliance Festival. Same date as your festival. Well, guess what? Now that we have a place we can go look on that calendar, next time we make dates, because there's a lot of people that would love to attend multiple events. But because we don't have a way to coordinate with anybody, we now have forgive my use of the word, but a centralized place where we can look on a calendar and say, let's see what my fall is going to look like, because that's when a lot of these conferences unfold. Oh, gee, maybe I want to go to, I can make it to SOE. Oh, guess what? I can also go to Back to the Land. I can also do this one. You see what I'm saying? So now there is a home for homesteaders, freesteader.com. And I'm going to scream this thing from the rooftops. Like I said, I was sitting here wondering, how on earth am I ever going to do this on just my platform? How am I going to do this? How am I going to get everybody the exposure they need? And then, like I said, out of the ether, like a ray of light saying, here we are. We got this platform, and it's going to, I'm not saying it's a panacea, but it's the best thing out there that I've seen. So, I'm recommending everybody. I'm like I said, I've been up to my eyeballs lately, but believe me, I'm going to put foot to butt on this platform. Things like I got on like Patreon, having all the problems in the world on Patreon. They're going to have an ability to be able. The problem I'm having, for example, on Patreon is I put a lot of good content over there. Problem is, it's so messed up right now that I can't even respond to the comments on the videos. So it's pissing me off. And I'm like, okay, when I talk to these guys, I'm like, hey, are you going to have this option over there? Can I take this over there and give these people a much better value? They're paying me money for extra content, and I can't even respond to their questions. Can you do this? And they're like, yeah, it's already done. All we got to do is push the button to make it work. But before we do that, we got to get this thing out of beta testing, get it off and running. So sorry, y'all. I know I keep monologuing and I keep apologizing for it, but man, this is, honestly, Matt, Gabby, we've talked about this. I don't even know how many times. And here it is. It's right here in front of me. And I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to tell everybody that wants to hear about it about freesteading.com. Go there, sign up. Let's build this thing and build our businesses. Let's use the future marketplace that's going to occur there. And let's all not have to rely on a 9-to-5 unless you love doing that job.
Yeah. And even then, you should be more in control of your revenue. There's so many reasons. Speaking of revenue and products and all that stuff, if somebody's out there thinking, man, I need some bone sauce to keep the deer out of my yard, or I need an awesome hand carved spoon that William was up for 200 hours making, where would they find that for now?
Yeah, you can go to the website's under construction right now. We left that very basic from the get-go because once again, we're trying to save our customers as much as possible. So we had a very rudimentary website for the longest time. It was functional, but a random sunflower out there doesn't really convey what we do. So permapastures.com, permapasturesfarm.com. You can check us out on YouTube, of course. We have a Patreon. You can check us out there. I guess you won't be after what I just said, but check out the Permaculture Pimpcast. You can check it wherever you play podcasts. We put out 2 episodes a week, and we keep it on a lighter note. And we cover some things that aren't, and just as a little side note, talking about the market, every single farming podcast out there is very dry and good information, but it's not very exciting. Well, we put the imp and pimp in the permaculture pimp, and we make it exciting. We do what no other farming podcast is doing. And, we throw in some humor, I think, and at least it's funny to me. And we keep it on the lighter side. And we cover a little bit about the only news we really cover is the news that might affect you as a homesteader, as a person into preparedness or permaculture. That's the kind of news we cover. And it's very, very small segment. We give you a farm update, give you a tip of the day. We go through, answer all the questions that we got for the week. And we keep it on the lighter side. And guess what? Every other podcast out there is doing the same kind of music in this sort of genre. Well, I saw opening saying, you know what, man, forget a bunch of that, dude. We're going to use the Gap Band. We ain't going to, there's nothing wrong with fiddles and banjos and stuff like that. I love bluegrass. It's my favorite type of music. But we're going to open up with a Gap Band. You dropped a bomb on me, baby.
I remember you talking about that kind of thing, bringing that kind of music, and that's fun.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's why, we're discussing these things on a lighter note, especially in these weird, tough, unusual, crazy times. And so, yeah, you can find us all there, but check if you want bone sauce, comfrey, anything we sell, you can find it at the website in our description box on YouTube, all the products that we endorse. And by the way, I don't endorse anything. Everybody and the great grandmother is beating down my door wanting a black dude, what they think is a black dude, to come advertise their product that's doing homesteading. I guess I'm that rare. I'm like a unicorn, black unicorn. But anyway,
that's the t-shirt you need.
They're all coming to me with their hats in their hands saying, hey, we'll give you a lot of money if you talk about this. And the answer is always no. And the reason why is whenever I endorse a product, you better believe I went to them. They're not coming to me with their hat in their hand. I am going to them just about, I can't think of a time where I haven't. So whether it's EMP Shield or anything else, it's a product that I sought because I know a lot about it. I use it. And I said, you know what? I'm willing to work with these people. So if you need any of that, it's going to be in our description down below. And that's basically that's it in a nutshell. That's where you can find us. And
cool,
man, I look forward to seeing everybody at the Back to the Land thing. And also in Gabby, sorry, Matt, this is ladies' night on Sunday.
That's right. I look forward to not having to do work for a change.
Yeah, I got all the ladies. I got 3 ladies coming in on my YouTube. We're going to promote anything these ladies are doing. We're going to talk about ladies in the business world. We're going to talk about pretty much the same thing, and then get hot on. We'll promote Back to the Land, and we're going to talk about. I'm going to throw a few curveballs in there, but yeah, I want to get this from a lady's perspective, and I want to shine and highlight everything you wonderful people are doing. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
And speaking of pimps, Billy, we have a discount code for him. If you go to buy your ticket for the Back to the Land Festival, if you use the code PIMP, it'll save you $8. So,
my goodness,
not your ticket yet.
Okay, we'll make sure we promote that on there because, yeah, we'll definitely try to put some butts in seats in there. I've been up to my eyeballs with so many things, but no, you guys were fantastic. That festival you put on that last time I was there was absolutely glorious. And I look forward to being at the next one. I guess I get to MC a little bit or something like that.
But mostly we kept Billy free, so you get a lot of Billy.
Yeah,
everyone has a lot of Billy time. Just go find him at the booth, and you'll have all the products there too, right? At the booth.
Yeah. The real truth of it is they don't want me to get up there on the stage because I won't shut up. They're like, get that dummy off the stage. So we'll just have them out there, smooth the crowd, and no, it'll be cool to go to one of these things and actually be able to listen to the other presenters for a change.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool ones. I'm really excited.
Yeah,
We've
including, and
pulled
we have
a-
also folks who will have products and soaps and stuff. Two Old Crows will have soap there, I believe, at the festival. So yeah,
It better
there's
be.
already a community and it's growing fast there at the location.
That's the cool thing about all this now through this new website, freesteading.com. We can sit here and promote all these festivals. And now the beauty of a thing like that is, you know what? If we all bring our crowds that are indigenous to each and every one of us, we go to a place like that. Now we can cross-pollinate and make people aware of the things we're doing that otherwise wouldn't know. There are people that are now going to be aware of the Back to the Land Festival just because they saw it from 10 different other people who were going. And then, like so many times at these festivals, you find out afterwards that people, they didn't go because they didn't know it happened. They didn't have a place to know where it was going to be. Well, this freesteading.com is going to answer a lot of that stuff. Man, I'm so happy. I mean, I really am. I'm so overjoyed that now we have a hub where we can do all this stuff, and I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. All right, everybody, that's Billy with a lot of good advice. I'm probably going to go watch this about 2 or 3 times to remember it all. But hopefully that was useful to everybody. Go check out Billy's channel if somehow you've missed that, if you haven't found Perma Pastures Farm yet. Awesome channel where you're going to learn everything from planting a permaculture tree guild to lots of processing stuff, just a wealth of information over there. In the meantime, y'all stay safe, be well, and happy homesteading, and we'll catch y'all at the festival.
See ya.